Here we have a hydraulic camber tool, and this equipment has a problem. In this video, we're going to identify the problem and solve it. So here I have the complete kit, the full pump repair kit, and here we have the complete pump, which in this case is defective. So what's the defect? When you turn the switch here to retract the cylinder, there's an arrow here, one pointing forward, which is to open the cylinder, and an arrow pointing backward here, which is to close the cylinder. So when the cylinder retracts, I turn the switch to retract, it comes back, it retracts completely, and there's pressure, it's firm. In this case, when you turn the switch here to open the cylinder, what happens? It has very poor pressure. You'll see here, I'll put the camera right here so you can observe that we spend a lot of time pumping just to get it to open. And worst of all, when it does open, there's no pressure on the lever. So what happens? In the vehicle, when you go to do the camber adjustment, the cylinder doesn't have enough force to put pressure on the vehicle's structure. You see here, it's moving slowly. Look right here on the other side, you can see the cylinder barely moves. Look at this, it barely opens. It's absolutely crazy. I'm pumping here like crazy, right? It's truly unbelievable how little it moves. That's it. You see the piston opened up completely and I keep pumping, but there's no pressure. It was supposed to build up pressure and hold, but that's not happening. So here's the thing. I suspect the problem might be with the O-ring that's right inside the piston, because the pump pushes oil to the bottom of this cylinder and the rubber piece here pushes the cylinder outward. So this valve, this O-ring, it might have broken at some point. So instead of the oil pushing the piston, the oil leaks from one chamber to the other. So that's what I suspect. In this case, this is the rubber piece, right? There's one here and another one here, right? So I'm going to start this job here by loosening this hose and unscrewing this part so we can take this piston apart and replace it. In this case, I'm going to replace both of them. I'll change this one and this one. One stays on this side and the other on the other side. All right, everyone, let's get started on this important task. Now, we are going to begin the work here by carefully removing these O-rings, which, as you can clearly observe, are in a rather deteriorated state. Their current condition, characterized by visible signs of wear and tear, such as flattening, cracking, and a general loss of elasticity, indicates that they are no longer performing optimally. These O-rings have clearly surpassed their operational lifespan and are no longer capable of providing an effective seal, which is certainly not ideal for the proper functioning of this equipment. The process of removing them is a crucial first step in our maintenance procedure, as their compromised state could lead to potential issues like leaks or reduced efficiency. Therefore, their timely replacement with new high-quality O-rings is absolutely essential to ensure the reliability and longevity of the system. We need to ensure that we handle this removal with precision to avoid any damage to the surrounding components, setting the stage for a successful and thorough repair. This initial action is fundamental to restoring the equipment to its optimal performance and preventing any future operational problems that might arise from these worn-out parts. Let's go. Since I'm going to put in new ones, I can tear this one, no problem. Kasho, I can't stay in the middle because I'll get in the way of the filming. Hand me the other screwdriver there. Here you go, done. I fit it in underneath here. There you go. Now I fit it in on top and pull. This rubber is really dried out, right? Out it goes. You take out the bottom rubber from underneath here, see? Yeah, from underneath. The top one comes out from the top and the bottom one from the bottom. When you put them back, you'll follow the same order. Hand me that over there. Do you want the rubber? And here's an important tip for when you're putting the rubber back. You'll notice that the rubber has another layer of rubber. Let me try to zoom in here. Take a look. Here comes the rubber. Oops, this particular one. Let's proceed. I'll carefully take it apart right here. You'll undoubtedly notice that it contains another rubber component inside it. So what you meticulously do here with the brand new rubber, you gently pull this out, observe closely, the rubber effortlessly comes off. This specific part here, you should discard it completely. You only retain this essential part, do you see? And in this particular instance, the hollow section goes on the very top, okay? Right here on the upper part, and the other rubber component goes on the bottom, specifically the hollow section, okay? That's designed to securely hold the oil in place here. Do you understand? So here, the hollow section always goes upwards. You can thoroughly check with the oil to ensure you don't force it unnecessarily. If you perceive it's excessively tight, you gently pull here and then carefully push it over, much like putting on a tire. Isn't that right? For those individuals who frequently put on tires, the rubber component will not encounter any difficulty whatsoever in performing this action. Do you see? It fits perfectly in there. Just like putting on a tire, you continuously keep pushing here. It fits snugly, then you carefully turn it. Do you observe? So that's basically the entire process. Now I'll meticulously take this out. Wait a moment. First, I'll carefully take out the other small rubber component from deep inside here. Then I'll extract the other tiny rubber from within and gently loosen it here in the vise. Now I'll take the hollow section facing downwards and carefully put it back into position here. And once again, precisely like putting on a tire, fit one side in first. You absolutely have to be extremely careful not to allow the rubber to spin or rotate internally. Isn't that correct? It possesses a very specific orientation, so it's a little bit challenging to insert, especially when you're wearing protective gloves, but it's perfectly fine if you exercise sufficient patience. And the ultimate solution is indeed patience. I almost got it. It's spinning. I absolutely cannot allow it to spin. These are tricky positions. There, I cannot let it go here. Now it's finally going. Wow, the rubber spun. I carefully turned it back. Do you perceive the significant difference? So you can already effectively compare the old rubber component that was originally in place with the brand new one. You will clearly see that the new rubber here, its edges are considerably more open. Do you notice? This particular one possesses a much wider edge, so the oil will exert pressure here. The piston will then move downwards. In this specific case, it will open, and the other oil will exert pressure here for the piston to retract completely, okay? So we're going to meticulously assemble it. You have already seen precisely how to take it apart. So assembling is essentially the very same process, but there is one extremely important detail to consider, okay? Look closely here. You'll immediately notice that the hose, observe the indicator key here, what precisely pushes out, you meticulously follow the hose, continue to follow the hose, and you'll carefully place it on the bottom part of the piston, okay? The arrow pointing outwards consistently stays on the bottom part of the piston, and the arrow pointing downwards consistently stays on the top part of the piston. So where exactly is the bottom part of the piston? The bottom part of the piston is this one here, see? The top part of the piston is this one here, right? This is the top part of the piston. So here's what happens. Clean it well with a cloth rag, okay? It can't fray, all right? If the rag frays, it will leave fibers here on the material, and it will damage the pump afterwards. So to assemble it here on the piston, you're going to moisten it a bit, see, with the same oil we took out, okay? Just a light dab here, look, and then patiently, you're going to do this motion here, see, patiently, so it can catch and guide itself in, see? Then push it in slowly, like this. Alex, grab the screwdriver and just press right here with the screwdriver. See how it's sticking up? Tilt it a bit, don't block the camera, just tilt it a bit, press down a bit more, there, see? It's in place now, see? So the first one is harder to fit in, okay? If you have help, it's better. The second one isn't, because the second one is in a better position for assembly, right? And since it wasn't leaking or anything, I'm not going to replace these O-rings here, okay? I'll keep them in place and reuse them, all right? Look, and when we took it apart, you saw that this one wasn't tightened. It wasn't tight. It doesn't need to be tight, okay? It just needs to touch. And another important thing, once it touches, if I see I can turn it a bit more, I give it one more turn. I don't think it goes any further, see? So I turn it back here. Look, why? Because it locked, see? That's the limit, you see? They're more or less aligned, see? So you can give it a little push to get it as aligned as possible. I assembled this one here. Look, it's ready. You can see that this one tightens by hand, just like I took it apart. You put it back together, okay? Now, we're going to connect the hoses and do a test to see if it turned out well. So here's the thing. Look, we just finished assembling it, right? We added oil, okay? It's important to use hydraulic oil, the kind recommended for hydraulic equipment. And here's the thing. What happens is, on average, it's about half a liter of oil, okay? You lift this up, pour oil in here until you see the oil reach this level here, okay? So what we need to do is switch the lever to the other side, move it to one side and go all the way. See? So it retracted and locked. It was already like this normal, right? Now I'm going to turn it to the other side. Look, the other side. Now I'm going to turn it and you'll notice that before, look, the cylinder is already starting to open faster. See? We already see an improvement here. Now, yes, it has to reach the end and the lever has to lock here. See? If the lever locks, the tool's problem is solved, okay? If it reaches the end and this lever stays like this, if the lever remains loose here, see, then it means we haven't solved the problem yet and we need to try other procedures. Look, it opens much faster, see? Right? It reached the end, see, it locked. What does that mean? That it built up pressure. In other words, the cylinder here is sealed. So the oil on this side of the chamber is pushing the cylinder out and there's no loss of oil pressure. That's why it has pressure. Now you can install it in the car and do the camber adjustment as usual, okay? So after you connect the hoses, you have to switch from one side to the other and move it back and forth until it's done, see? It's excellent, see? You have to move it all the way to one side, then all the way to the other, until all the air inside the piston and the air that's in the hose, when you take it apart, gets pushed out. The air has to be purged, you see? I fixed the valve with pressure here, see? Now we can bring the car in for alignment, and if it needs camber adjustment, we can do that too. If the car is able to have it done, adjust the camber, all right? You have to check what kind of car it is. Look, it reached the end, it locked, there's pressure, everything is working perfectly, okay? And here's the thing. Here's a tip for you so you don't ruin your equipment. After you finish a camber adjustment, never leave this rod exposed because it can oxidize. It'll collect dust, get damp, and start to rust, which will damage and shorten the lifespan of your components. So after you finish a camber adjustment, you retract the entire piston all the way. Make sure it's fully retracted, see, all the way to the end, okay? So basically, that's it. I'm not sure yet if this video will go on the channel or if it's just for the students of the vehicle geometry course, but that's pretty much it. Problem solved. Thanks, take care, and see you in the next video.